Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 142 of the podcast. Hard to believe, seems weird coming out of my mouth, but we are joining you, some of you actually, today on Tuesday, May 27th, I believe. Is that right, Prince?
May 28th right now
Oh,
as we're recording this. So,
I'm always one day off on the date.
yeah,
It's like a mental block.
I
Um,
just couldn't believe that how many episodes we're at. That just kind of blew me away. I don't really
it's
keep
ridiculous.
track of like every episode, like what number we're at because, we just do them and they just keep coming. And it's like, holy crap, we've really done that many.
Yeah, and they all kind of blur together at a certain point too.
Yeah.
You know? Like even somebody will be like, what was your favorite guest? Or like, well, and it's like, I couldn't even say, like
That's
some
the,
definitely stick out, but
those questions are always so hard. It's like you'd like to think they're easy, but it's like, no, like there's just so much. There's so much that's happened, and there's so many different good guests for so many different reasons. Like it's
yeah, I think, so we'll hop right into kind of the meat and potatoes of this episode. So, with all the things we've been busy doing the past couple of weeks, our schedule's been full. We had consensus. So it's been a little bit since we've had a chance to actually step back and look at the markets and go, okay, let's like talk about this on an episode because a lot has happened over those couple of weeks. So we've been kind of packed full of the schedule. So
yeah.
um, the most recent thing I think, which is most pressing, and we'll kind of branch off talking about everything else after we talk about this, is Big Brother Bitcoin, and what it's doing. Most recently, it was hovering around the low 8,000s range for quite some time, hovering just above 8,000, like 8050, 8100, that sort of region.
Mhm.
And then just in the past couple of days, shot up to, I think it got just to about 9,000. So
It
chill
was
on the Vegeta memes, but we're close.
yeah. I think it was like 89.50 or something. It was so close, and
Yeah,
now we're
like
just kind of
right
chilling
there.
around 87. Um, it's interesting though, like watching it. There's so much strength right now in this. Like, you keep like I keep looking at it. I'm like, okay, and this is classic crypto right here. Like where you look at it and you're like, okay, this has gone up enough. Like, it's due. I'm just gonna sell everything. Whatever, made a great profit. This has got to come down, right? And this is what I'm seeing a lot of this right now, and I've been there many times and even had some thoughts about it so far. But this is the classic crypto where it's like you think that it's ran enough, but it doesn't care how much you think it was enough. It'll keep going if it wants to. Um, and this is kind of like what we're seeing right now. Like I've seen, kind of honestly, when we were at 8K there for a long time, there was a lot of people short in 8K. It was like, there's no way it's breaking above 8K. Well, then it busts through 8K. Um, every time we get a nice, decent dump, it seems to get bought right back up. Buyers keep stepping up. It's nice to watch right now, and it's one of those situations where it's like just I've almost gotten to the point where it's like, okay, it's like it's a nice reminder because you get so accustomed to the way price action is in a bear market, and then you come in and you see things starting to change, and things have changed in a dramatic way. And you just got to be patient, right? It's like when you're running a nice shit coin that's just been going like crazy, you just got to chill because you can end up selling so early. What I like to just wait for that blow off top, right? And as for Bitcoin right now, we still haven't really had one of those yet. So like I'm still fairly bullish. Like I don't it's one of these things. I don't see a reason to be extremely bearish right now. If anything, it's just be, staying bullish. But at the same time, this 87 zone, it's not like a zone where I'm going to be running in and saying, okay, it's time to open up some leverage longs. So it's if we can get 84, I'd like that. That I would open up some longs there. But otherwise, I'm just
Yeah.
riding what I got riding. But yeah, like, what do you think?
Well, you mentioned like looking for the blow off top, and I think that's big because like if this is your first really bullish period in crypto, you probably
Mhm.
thought that already happened, but it
Yeah.
it certainly hasn't. I think we can like confidently say.
Mhm.
We've had things that have looked pretty close to it, but like you mentioned, when the market flips like this in crypto, I mean, things just kind of churn higher, like over and
Yeah.
over. They churn and then they hold, and then they churn
Yeah.
higher and they hold that level, and then they churn higher. And you can see that on the chart, you know.
Mhm.
I think you had a good level, you know, around 84, 8,300 or so,
Mhm.
where if you're looking for an opportunity to get in, maybe not right now, but wait for it to go and settle at that range. And if it holds that, then that may
Mhm.
be a good spot.
Yeah. And
Um,
that's to say if we even get that, I still think we're gonna get over 9K. Um, and in the not too distant future. But in the process, are we going to go down to 84 first? Are we going to do a nice drop down? Let some guys load up their bags more? Because that's something I've been seeing, especially today, quite a bit of. Like, even just look at you can kind of look at the MEX order book and you look at the depth when you start, kind of lumping things together in large price groupings. And so, like this morning, I was looking at it, it was like, wow, there's some, heavy bids around 8,600. Well, sure enough, an hour later, I'm up trying to still like open my eyes. An hour later, price is just dumping all the way down. It went below 86, and then next thing you know, it's back up. So it's like, okay, you're seeing there's huge orders down there, and they want to get filled, right? And so that's kind of what that's what I'm seeing right now is a lot of this. You're getting a lot of wicks. You're getting a lot of dumps, fast, hard, and they scare the shit out of you, right? And they start making you think, okay, is this the top? Like, did we just hit the top? Like, and then, maybe you think, okay, it's time to fucking rush in and short. And then next thing you know, you look back at it 2 hours later and it's already higher than maybe the level was than you had initially started making these, panic kind of decisions. Um, there's a lot of buyers out right now. Like I don't know. It's one of these environments that I'm not overly eager to be looking for shorts right now.
no,
It's
yeah.
it's I would rather just chill in spot than to be going and looking for shorts. If I'm gonna be looking for any leverage plays, I'm looking for longs. Um, yeah, this is
I
like
think
what the Bitlord thing where he says, crypto, the pumps can be a hell of a lot more irrational than you could ever imagine, and the dumps can be just as irrational. And I think, the people forget about that when you've gone through a bear market for so long, right?
yeah. And that 8,300 level or so, not only is that a region where like big players are going to be looking to buy, I think, but that's going to be a
Mm,
region where a lot of people are going to try to short, which if it
mhm.
turns, like you said, that's going to act as further fuel,
Yeah.
for an upward move if you get that short squeeze.
Hmm.
Um, but I think, your point about not looking like overly hard for opportunities to short is huge because I'm still like a little bit scared to like jinx the trend reversal, but I think it's pretty
Hmm.
clear the trend has reversed, from
Oh,
downwards for a year and a half to upwards. I think I
fuck
can
yeah, yeah.
safely say that, at this point. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, all the evidence is there. It's just like an irrational, fear inside where I'm like,
Mhm.
oh God, I don't want to jinx it, but it's stupid. But I mean,
I
it's pretty
felt the
clear
same
already
because
turned
what
around.
we had a show a few weeks back. Oh, it might have even been a month back, and we were like, "Did crypto bottom?" And it was like, I was like, "Yes, we bottomed." But inside, I was like, "What the fuck did I just say? Like, did I really just say that?" Like, So I get that. I feel you.
Yeah, and 9,000 is another interesting level because like everyone likes it, obviously
Yep.
for the memes. Like it's over 9,000, that's sick. But like at the end of the
Yeah.
day, that's not really like technically an important level. Like you look at the
Hmm.
charts, like 9,000 has almost
Yeah.
zero significance. The levels
I
you want to
think.
look for are like 8,400 and like 9,900.
Yeah. To me, that 99 10K zone.
Yep.
I still think, you know what, I'm a believer that we will see Bitcoin over 10K. I think, and it will be in the not so distant future, I believe. Now, one thing, few weeks ago in episodes, right, we were kind of talking about some trades that we had going, and where, and this is a classic situation of underestimating how quickly things can happen when it comes to crypto moving. And my play was all Ethereum, right? That was back. Ethereum was around. It was in that 165, 175 range, kind of. It was that $10 zone, and my thing was, okay, I want Ethereum at 255. That's my target. But I was on the time frame of going outwards to end of June, and so all of a sudden the move happened in a matter of days. At one point, actually, okay, this is how it went. I was in the airport getting ready to go to Consensus, and Ethereum was dropping to 183. And I remember looking at it like, I wish I want to get some leverage longs in here, some more, I already got a nice position, but I want to get more in on this. But then I was like, but I'm going to be on a plan. I don't want to fuck around with this. So I did. Well, sure enough, that drop to 183 ended up being the drop. And then, after that, it just popped right up. And it was pretty much a steady ride all the way up. It topped out at like 280 and then back down, and 250 zone acted as, a resistance area for quite a while. But to me, it was such a good example and a reminder, even to myself, of like how quickly, things can actually move and how much more they can move than you could ever think it would happen, right? And that's kind of crypto is, and this is to the upside and downside, is you might have a nice controlled kind of maybe a time frame and everything on where you think things are going to go, but when a coin gets going, like it can really blow you away in your expectations, right? So that's where it is, coming back to this, try and not keep too much expectations on a firm target, because all of a sudden, and here's the thing is I had that firm target 255. Well, I unloaded a lot of my, positions that I had opened up down there. I was like, okay, we've gotten our move. But then I'm watching, I'm like, hey, this is still fucking bullish, right? Like this isn't, this just seems like consolidation to me. So, started opening up positions back up again when we got a dump down to like 220s, 230s on ETH. I started opening up a lot more positions again. But, so it's like, I just, there's too much going on right now, and the buying pressure is there. Like it's pretty noticeable, and it's nice because it's so long since we saw it, right? Like compared to the
feels
bear
like
market.
new but familiar,
Yeah.
Like it's like seeing an old friend, where
Exactly.
it's like, oh, hey, there you are. Like, yeah, we used to be cool. We used to hang out.
That's
Um,
exactly it.
I think I try to like put myself like go back like 2 years and like things I could have or would have told myself if I could go back in time, and I was like experiencing this like as my first time in these markets. And I think the main thing, and this is just going to be for me personally, everyone else will have like a different lesson, but I'm sure there's somebody with a similar personality type who can gain something from this. I think the big takeaway for me is just don't use too much leverage. I'm not going to be somebody that's like leverage is evil, like you're going to blow your account up. You very well may, but you can use it to your advantage pretty well. I think the thing is though, and Prince, you can speak to this because you're pretty disciplined with this, is just do not take too much, because even if you are right on the direction of the move, if we see one of these crazy like BitMEX just wicks in either direction, I mean, you can get wiped out in an instant, no matter how correct you are on the larger, higher time frame stuff.
Yeah, what they came out with a study saying like the BitMEX group that it was something like the average leverage being used by people was around 7 or 8x, which, and it's exactly like you said, it's tough to be able to, because I'm never, because I use leverage a lot and I need it for how I trade, but it depends, how you're using it. And so that's the thing. There's ways to be using leverage where it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's actually helping your, your risk levels. But then there's ways where it just turns into complete stupidity. And so that's where, be in control of your leverage, because just because, prices have been going up and maybe your market thesis is that, prices are going to continue to go higher, it doesn't mean you're not going to see a straight line up, and we've already seen it with even just this trip higher that we've had so far, where, there was the Binance, scare where we saw price dump pretty hard. If you were in a leverage long, you were either getting liquidated or you were sweating pretty hard during that, right? And so that's an important thing to keep in mind, because just as Bitcoin can go up super hard, super fast, it's going to have corrections that are just as hard, and so, yeah, you don't want to be the
I think,
over leverage guy, because how, and I think about this myself a lot, where it's like when I'm kind of trying to balance my portfolio, and it's like, how fucking shitty would it be if you have a nice fat position open, but you're using just too much leverage, and then all of a sudden something crazy happens, And in crypto, the moves can be violent and you get wiped out. And next thing you know, like, maybe you're on Cross and your entire account is wiped out. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there with no more portfolio. You have, you blew yourself up. And it's just as, the market is, to me, we're getting ready to go into a much larger trend that is going to, be very nice for everybody involved. That's my thesis, anyways, as long as you're on the long side. But how shitty that would be, right? You just being a bonehead with your leverage. Next thing you know, all your money's gone. And you're not even into the juiciest part of the market yet, or the cycle,
And it's not
right?
even like that liquidation that hurts you. It's also what comes after that. Because when that happens to you, like a lot of times you're going to deposit more immediately and like try to trade in
Mhm.
the other direction. And then you're going to get wiped out the other direction too. It's like the follow up collateral
Yeah,
damage that a move like that
it's
causes.
yeah, like to me, it's a big thing. Be smart because this is, and it's a trap about crypto where because things move so fast, when they move, they can move so fast, so hard, and you go into just pure euphoria. You're like, holy shit, just nailed this move, and then so all of a sudden maybe you start trying to push your risk levels more, and you start taking more exposure than you should be in a given direction. It's like fuck, it's a long race, it's a marathon, right?
Yeah.
But with these moves you can get into this idea that it's a sprint. It's not
You
not a
mentioned
sprint.
like expecting pullbacks even in a clearly bullish trend. And I
Hmm.
I I saw this tweet the other day from I think it was Josh Rager,
Hmm.
aka Bacon Chain, who we've had on
Yeah.
the podcast before. Shout out to him, really good TA guy. But the point was that even in these really large, like long-term, like 2 year bull runs, you're going to experience, I think it was like an average of like 9 or 10 pullbacks of 30% in the price during that run up. And so I mean, that's a big correction.
Yeah.
30%, like that's the definition of like a recession
Yeah.
in traditional markets. It's like a catastrophe,
Yeah.
level, like, oh, the market's like having one of the worst
That's
periods
yeah.
ever. It's like that level. And you can experience in these markets like 10 of those on during one like bull run, and
Hmm.
that's during a bullish run. And so like you just got to be careful. Like, you can make a hell of a lot of money if you play this
Yeah.
right over the next couple of years,
And
but
that
you have to not blow it up.
that really puts it into perspective, like that, because I know exactly the chart you're talking about, and I found that fascinating to look at too, because it was like, wow, look at all of these, like 30% drops during an insane uptrend, right? Those drops are gonna just absolutely destroy anybody who's over leveraged, right?
Yeah.
And so that's, yeah, to me it just comes down to, yes, crypto can go absolutely bonkers and the returns can be insane, but treat it as a marathon, not a sprint. Um, because there's, to me, there, like, it's my biggest fear is like, what if I fuck up so bad that all of a sudden I'm left on the sidelines with, barely anything for a portfolio anymore because I was just a retard
Yep.
and I'm watching prices continue higher, right? That's a legit, that keeps me up at night, right?
It's good
Like
to like
that's,
imagine that pain, because that sounds
oh,
horrendous, and if that
yeah.
stops you from going 50x when you shouldn't, then so be it, but
I think, yeah, and I think,
um
for anybody who maybe is thinking about getting a little crazy with leverage, that might just be what could keep him back. Just that thought. Think of you if you get in that situation, not a situation you ever want to go into. So,
dude, I remember like when I first got involved in this and I was like pretty much just gambling like everything I had on it, like there were moments where I was having like fucking anxiety attacks, like margin trades going the wrong direction.
oh,
It's like it's bad.
dude,
like
I
heart
remember,
palpitations,
like
like ah.
when I first got into crypto, that was it. Like all I was doing was trading on Mex,
Yeah.
and you know, getting liquidated all the time, being a shithead, going on my credit card and hitting up Coinbase. Let's buy. And at the time, I was just trading peanuts, right? Like it was like $100 purchase off Coinbase. Okay, let's leverage this fucker up and see what I can do, right? And then it just got to a point where I had lost consistently every time. And I was like, hey, I literally don't even have money to like buy off my credit card anymore. You know, got a lot of debt. I need to figure out what the fuck is going on. And yeah, it was my mom who was just like, "Oh, you're into that crypto stuff, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, okay, here's some money, put it in, and don't you fucking lose it." That's what she told me. I was like, "Okay," scared shitless. And then, but that, I guess things started to change, right? And
That's when
fortunately,
3x leverage Prince was born.
yeah,
No
well,
higher than
things
3x.
things started to change there, right? And granted, it was, the timing, the market timing couldn't have been any better. So a lot of luck involved too, I would say, but you need luck on your side. But yeah, you don't want to be the guy who is consistently blowing up his account as the market is getting ready to, is shifting into a broader trend that is going to be very nice. You know what I mean? So just
Yeah.
be responsible, kids.
So, like taking a step back and looking at the Bitcoin chart from a higher time frame, in your gut, what do you see happening in the next, like, let's say, couple months? Again, I know this is super hard, but if you had to guess.
Let's go a month out. I'm curious on this whole Fidelity thing. No, like there's not really any word on when it's going to be rolled out that, institutional clients can start purchasing Bitcoin and storing it through with Fidelity. But when there was the word kind of coming out, it was within a few weeks, right? So I'm
Yeah.
really curious. Are we going to see Fidelity open it up in June? Because I'm still very bullish for June. And so this whole price movement has actually really kind of caught me off guard because I didn't expect to see this much. I was kind of figuring June would be the month. So I am really curious. What are we going to get more in June? I know a lot of I go on Twitter, my whole timeline is people setting up their bids for 6K, and I don't know if you're going to get it. Like I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah, I mean, we had this consolidation in like the seventh, like for the range was basically like 8,300-ish to like 7,200, and we had some decent consolidation in that range. I mean, if you can pretty easily make out what looks like a bull flag there, or
And
like a bull
what?
pennant.
When price got down, like there was a few times where it got down around that 7K mark, if I'm not mistaken. And again, it was just a classic example of buyers just refused to step away every time it got around there. They were there in full force. So I'm really curious, like it's been really cool to see buyers are there. There's, they're buying up anything they can, it seems right now. But I'm just curious when this Fidelity thing is going to happen, because I think that could really kick us into a frothy phase. You know what I mean? That could be the phase, where we're kind of talking about, when crypto moves, typically it'll go higher than you think it should, and then it'll go even higher than you think it should, and then it's
Yeah,
done, right? It'll leave everybody speechless when it really
exactly.
does getting moving, right? So, and that's why I don't believe this move by any means is done. And so that's what I'm curious about. I'm like, okay, so would Fidelity be the trigger to really spark, maybe the final segment of this big move we've had? So yeah, I'm curious to see what happens. But right now, my thesis hasn't changed since back at like 6K Bitcoin. Still the same. It was probably even lower than that. I just trade in Ethereum these days, so trying to
Yeah,
light up
we'll
prices.
we'll get to that in one second. I think
Yeah.
yeah, I think the ranges to look out for anybody are like 8,300 to 9,900, and then
Mhm.
between 99 and like 11,500. And then if we
Mhm.
get above 11,500, it's like clear skies ahead. But
Yeah.
I think that'd be too easy in the near term. I think
Yeah.
we probably consolidate in one of these ranges, whether it be the 8,300 to 99 range or like one just below it. But I think
Mhm.
we consolidate there for like a few months. It just that would kind of line up with the previous action
Yeah.
that happened in like 2015, 16, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
that's my best guess. Again, nobody knows, but
It's just creating a thesis for what you're thinking, and then constantly evaluating your market thesis, right? That's
yeah.
kind of how I try to be. I'll try to create a thesis for a month forward, a month to 2 months forward. I'll try to create a thesis for where I feel the broader trend is going to be, and then from there, I will, kind of formulate my trades.
Don't fight the trend, everybody. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
it's your friend until it's not, and when
that
it turns
is,
around,
yeah,
we'll know, but it doesn't seem like it's going to do that
exactly.
anytime soon.
Don't fight the trend. I've been watching people trying to short since 6K and all the way up here. It's like, just chill. Don't
And
fight
the
the
thing is, too,
trend.
like, if you're out there, like, you may not even have a good personality for shorting. Like, I know I don't, because I'm just like irrationally optimistic,
Mhm.
like too much of the time. And so, like, for me to try to like look at times where I'm like, okay, I'm sure it's going, like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I'm just terrible at it. So I'm not going to try. I think I'm just going to wait and like just be patient and like time
Yeah.
my longs, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, moving on. That was some really good stuff on Bitcoin. Let's talk about what you're looking at as far as alts go, or any sort of alternative trading strategies you've been employing lately.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of action over with alts. Well, not all alts across the board, but there's been certain alts that you consistently see are in the top gainers kind of thing on Binance, and everyone wants to be talking about it on Twitter. I think Hot is the new hot one, that Holo, whatever they want to call it. I don't know, but I haven't been trading too many altcoins. Honestly, I've just been trading Ethereum, uh, particularly just through options. I kind of just have it's almost like an options portfolio, we'll say at this point, over on Deribit, and I've really been liking that, and I've been performing. There's been a lot nicer consistency, I guess, and I really like options because it's such a strategy game. Everything about trading is a strategy game, but options, it's like on steroids.
Yeah,
Um,
there's a lot more to consider.
yeah, so I really like it. The way you can structure trades and everything. It's just I love it. It's an obsession almost at this point. So that's kind of all I've been doing for the most part, is just trading options. I'm selling premium, buying premium, just the whole works.
Can you, like, let's say somebody is listening and they have like no idea what an option even is. Like, can
Mm.
you kind of break down what you use them for, what you look for them to
I
achieve for
think
you?
to me the best way to look at options is insurance products. Insurance products for your portfolio. To me, that's how I look at options, and whenever I'm trading them, I'm looking at them in that sense. And to me, that kind of like probability is everything about them in a sense, right? Um, so we've been in an environment where the volatility has been absolutely insane, right? And so obviously because of that, all of a sudden, options pricing, it's it's fat right now. Like implied volatility is what's kind of going to show how do they want to be pricing these and everything. And it's high. It's so high right now. Ethereum's implied volatility is way higher than even Bitcoin's is right now. But even Bitcoin's is fucking way up there. I think it was, if it's not over 100% now, it's got to be around 95 or so. But anyways, and that's pretty much says everything you need to say, right? Like that's, you go to equities and you look at it, different options, right? Like if you were to look at the SPY, the SPY options, I think implied volatility floats around like, I don't know what, like 13-15% or something. So that gives you an idea of just, how much more extreme things are right now when it comes to crypto options. And I found that it kind of offers a really neat opportunity in some ways where it comes to selling options. Now, there's a lot of people who are like, oh, selling options is fucking risky as hell. Don't ever do that. And I agree and I disagree in some aspects, right? So it's like if you're selling options and implied volatility is like say on the SPY, and all of a sudden you get a move that's outside of the standard deviation or so, maybe you get like a 3-4% move on the SPY, and it's against you. Say you were selling puts, and all of a sudden it moves down 4% in a day. You're going to get pretty fucked up, right? Because implied volatility is so low. These options are cheap. All of a sudden, volatility kicks up, implied's kicking up. Now those are going to be expensive, and that's where you get guys, potentially losing their house and everything. But it's a different situation with crypto options because implied volatility is so fat. It is extremely high. So you can sell. Like one of the things I've been doing quite a bit is selling a lot of puts, and because I'm not really one who wants to sell calls. Because calls, there is an added
Not
risk
in
if
this
you're
environment. That seems like
yeah.
asking for it.
And you know what, and here's the thing, when they talk about unlimited upside, if you want to, in that area of thinking, unlimited upside versus limited downside, you have unlimited downside if you're selling calls in a crypto, especially. It's like, you don't know how fucking long that thing could start running, right? Like, you
Yeah.
just get absolutely round. And it was fucking just comical to me because right around the bottom of the market, there was, I think it was a Bloomberg article, and it was talking about how miners and stuff have been selling premiums, selling calls on OTC options to make up for the bear market. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, holy shit, like that's, I get it. We're in a bear market, but you guys are selling calls like this to supplement everything. And then sure enough, the article pretty much like it almost marked the bottom of the market. And, they had like pointed out some positions that some of these people had at the time. And it's like, I was looking at one of them, and whoever was the counterparty, the ones, saying, okay, we'll take the other side of your trade, is just laughing now because they were just, this one firm wanted to sell a bunch of calls down around, like, I think it was like 3,600 or so. Like, and so this other, the counterparties, the other side, they're buying up all these calls, and it's just like, holy shit, you guys are laughing now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, holy crap. But so that's the thing, if you're selling puts, it's a bit of a different story because you can still, sure, you can get fucked up, but there's still going to be a limited downside in the end. It can't, if it's going to go down to zero, well, you're still limited to it going to zero in a sense. But, to the upside, it's a little scarier. But anyways, yeah. So a lot of what I've been doing has been focused on selling premium, and it's been really nice. I like it, but it's something that you got to be always in control of, and not just selling premium. I'll buy premium too. But typically, with how I'm managing it, I like to try to keep my theta, aka your decay, I like to keep that on my side as much as possible. So say just for the last while, one of the go-tos of mine is just, I'll be selling puts, out of the money puts kind of down there. And then I'll also be I'll buy a smaller amount of out of the money calls or something. And my theta will be kind of offset, so I'm still going to be actually having decay in my favor every day instead of losing decay. Because when you're buying calls, like, here's the thing, right? If you're buying calls right now, you got to understand that you're buying an expensive fucking contract. Like, these options aren't cheap. So you need a pretty good move just to even break even.
Yeah.
Right. So that's something, and I don't think a lot of people really recognize, because, the thing is about, and at least on my feed, I see people kind of getting into options, but I don't think, there's a lot of knowledge with it. And because crypto doesn't really have a lot of, venues for options trading, but that's changing very quickly, right? Deribit's getting a lot of volume. It's amping up consistently. And then it sounds like BitMEX is going to be looking to launch some options trading too.
Yep.
Which to me, that's big, right? Like that's a big move. That's Arthur saying he doesn't want to get left in the dust by Deribit potentially, because there's been a lot of people pretty much saying, Arthur, get your shit together. Like,
the order submission error.
Yeah, well, and that too, right?
Good. They needed it.
Exactly. Like, it's just, I think derivative, everybody's always talking about exchanges and everything, popping up left, right, and center. But to me, the one that's just wild is derivatives platforms. Those are just, they're popping up they're like weeds, there's,
and then you see, I think like just this week, like BitMEX is we're going to really put some resources to solving this problem. Like, there's a reason they're doing that. It's been a problem forever, but I think it's finally reached the point where they are losing some business because of that. So they have to improve their engine.
And, you look, and there's even, so Deribit's doing a really, they're, by no, BitMEX is still king, right? But here's the thing, and I've seen other people say this, where it's like, oh, well, BitMEX will never lose its reigns. It's still, and it is still the king by a large margin. But, the one thing I'll say is there was once a point in time in this market where OKCoin was the king.
Yeah.
And they are
there was
not
a time
anymore.
where you didn't go anywhere but Poloniex for alts.
Exactly, right.
And now it's
so
barely alive.
When these changes start happening, especially, with exchanges, it starts slowly, and then it's all at once. It feels like, you know what I mean? So there's some neat stuff though. Like, I think even there's this Delta exchange. It's a futures one. It's kind of small, and liquidity sucks. So it's like you can't really do the easy, you can't get in and out like you'd like to be able to if you're trading with some size. But they got some neat pairings, and they're doing some cool things. Like, you can use a base currency setting as, like US dollar, the Circle US dollar kind of thing coin. You can convert right on the platform. They have, they have Tezos futures. They have Leo, the new Bitfinex coin futures up there. Cool. And I think Leo, guys want to watch a coin that's going to probably be a real good performer down the road. Leo You know, it's to me that's a coin. It's going to be, it'll perform really well. You watch, like it'll do well. Not a lot of
Yeah,
people
I think
talking about it either.
no, like nobody, you know, because like nobody has access to it, so nobody has like that incentive to be like, oh, I got to talk about what
Yeah,
I got, you know.
exactly. Yeah,
But yeah,
but
that's going to be an interesting one to watch for sure. I have my eye on that.
I think it'll
Um,
perform up. You know, I don't want to. It's. I'm not going to say it's going to perform the way Binance, BNB has, because BNB has been around for a lot longer. But in terms of just consistent returns being put up in a good market environment, I think that coin is going to do really well. I think it'll perform, and it'll probably blow a lot of people's minds when they see it. It's like, what the fuck? How is this Finex token doing so well? Finex is a scam. Like, this shouldn't be doing it. And it's like, it's like, welcome to crypto.
and the thing is, even if it is, like, I'm not going to make it a comment on that, but like, even if it is quote unquote like a scam, like that does not by any means mean it won't pump. If anything, like it might pump
That
even
kind of
more.
that kind
So
of adds to the thesis that it will pump,
yeah.
right? Like, yeah.
Um, I think you mentioned the BNB, which made me think of something I kind of want to touch on really quick is from my perspective, when we're looking at alts here, I think most of them fall into one of a few categories.
Mm,
Either they have had zero breakout at all and they're still like kind
mm,
of riding that low range they've been in for months and they're being accumulated. I think you see some that have started to break out, like Matic,
mhm,
some of those like launchpad coins, things like that.
yeah.
And then I think you have ones that are just completely bucking any trend. And I think BNB is one of those where
Yeah.
you look at its chart and it doesn't look like the chart of any other coin in crypto, really.
Yeah.
And so I think those are the ones you want to keep an eye on because
Mhm,
as those coins continue to do exceedingly well versus everything else, they're going to suck in more of that market money, because there's only
mhm,
so much capital to go around. Um, and, I mean, people have been saying the top was in on BNB since $9, since
yeah.
$14, since 20, since 25, since 30, and now it's
Yeah.
sitting around 34. And it just goes to show you these things can go on, like you said before, a lot longer than you think. And these upward moves, like they kind of make themselves stronger as they keep going up because more and
Yeah.
more people go, oh shit, I'm never trying to sell this again. I'll regret it.
Yeah.
And you have less of a supply in that case, and
And
the
all of a
upward move
sudden,
becomes
yeah, the
stronger.
sideline guys are like, well, fuck, it just doesn't seem to go down for me. So screw it.
Yeah.
I'm just going in. Yeah. It's like a big cycle effect of, yeah, it just
And
brings
if
in
you don't
more
feel like
money.
doing that and you want to just like accumulate bottom feeders, then take a look at a lot of different like I think Komodo is like an example of one of these where you look at the
Mhm,
chart and it hasn't really done anything yet, but if you look at it from a high time frame, you can clearly see that this thing is being bought up big at lower levels.
mhm,
And all these people who are committing all this capital to it, creating these gigantic high volume green candles at the bottom,
mhm.
like they're not going to let it just like die off. This is like smarter players accumulating at the bottom, and a lot of charts are
Mhm.
starting to look like that. That's just one example. So
It's,
if that's your game, just kind of throw some money at those and
yeah.
wait for a year, then so be it. But like, you have to know like where in the cycle. Like if you're buying that, expecting it to like pop up immediately, that's tough. Because none of us know
Mhm,
like which is the next one that's going to pop. Like we have ideas, but
yeah.
that's a really hard like whack-a-mole game to play, I think.
It's going to be really interesting to me to see how the alt market performs, over the next, even just the next, couple months really. But we can even go longer time frame and say, through the whole, Bitcoin halving and everything. And there's the saying I like to use that, the rising tide will lift all boats. But it's a different market environment than it was in 2017, right? It's just diluted. It's diluted as hell, right? There's coins everywhere. So, and then back in 2017, it was like everything pumped. I don't believe we're going to see, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll eat my words on this one, but I don't believe we're going to see a market where it's like every alt, just because it's an alt and it's around and Bitcoin's doing good, is going to pump like crazy. I don't believe we're going to see that again. Although I might just be, the classic alt skeptic at this point, and like there are so many of it, and I'll probably just be eating my words down the road. But it's a different environment this time. So yeah, I'm not sure. It'll be
You know what's
interesting.
interesting? Like, even if they don't pop, like there are plenty that have gone up like 3x in the past,
Mhm.
say 4 months that like zero people have talked about. And
Well,
so that makes me really excited because when
and
that's happening and it gets zero attention, like you can have some
yeah,
really,
and
really
that's
good
the other
long-term
thing,
gains
right?
holding.
People's definitions of what an alt season really is can be very different, right? To me, if you can get a 2-3x out of a coin, you're fucking, that's gold, right? Like that's awesome. But there's also, and from experience, I think a lot of people when they think alt season, they're thinking like, oh, I want like a 6, 7, 10x potential, you know what I mean? Like where they can just hold on for days, months, not do a thing, but every time they open Blockfolio, they're making money kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
And so I feel like that's where a lot of the what people expect alt season to be like is. And because, right, like we had a lot of that shit in 2017, right? It was like, holy crap. Like, um, so yeah, I could see it being a market where you can pump out 2-3x's. I don't know if we're going to be, the kind of frothy alt market where it's like, 10-20x's just because, and there's no effort that you need to put in. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it feels too soon for that.
yeah, to me, it's just the market's too diluted. You'll still see that there'll still be coins that will do it. It just, to me, it won't be as across the board like it was last time.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Um, all right, dude. Well, we've
Yeah,
covered a lot of ground on
look, we had a
the
lot of
markets this
good
episode.
chat here.
Yeah, very good.
Time
Is there anything
flies.
else you wanted to leave with everybody? Anything else you've been looking at in the markets?
No, I would just say be in control of your portfolio, and that really is more so for people who are trading with leverage. It's a crazy market. You don't want to be the guy who's getting blown up,
Yeah,
when the tides are all turning and everything, right? So
be greedy, but not too greedy, and it's a fine
exactly.
line for
Yeah.
sure. But all right, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in. Most of you will listen to this on Wednesday, so have a good Wednesday and a great rest of your week. And we will circle back with you next week. Take care.